Howdy everyone, and welcome to another scrumptious episode of Bulbacast. What makes this particular episode scrumptious, you ask? An excellent question. Today we will be discussing some of our favorite and least favorite desserts. But, who is we, you might ask? Well, if you'd stop asking questions, I would be able to introduce this episode's panel. Starting with our returning panelists from the game show recordings, CheffofGames and Lone Garurumon. Say hi, guys.
Hey there.
Hi, how you doing?
Alright. And we do have a brand new Bulbacaster with us today, coming from the War Room and my own personal deputy me, it's Elieson.
Hello there.
Nice to have you with us.
I'm a little nervous, but I think if we're in a food discussion, as long as Chef is here, we'll be in good hands.
Well, you actually should not leave any cooking to me, because it will be gone by the time I would serve it.
And that would cause quite the stir, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
As Lone so succinctly put it right before we started recording, oh god, now there's two of them.
This is going to be a long cast.
Compared to the previous two, it's a distinct possibility. Anyway, as I hope you would all know by now, I am Magnificent Entertainer, your multifaceted and extraordinary host, and the multimedia executive of Bulbacast. It's our third episode of the morning, and I'm on my third cup of tea. Now, this is going to work a little differently from previous panel discussions. Really, the only questions are, what is your favorite dessert, and what is your least favorite dessert? We'll each answer those questions and just talk from there. Now, I will point out that the former head of Bulbagarden's social media project, Queen Hanzo, has an ongoing bet for how many times I will say, that's not kosher F-. As I am still trying to be on my best behavior, I will try to refrain from such snap judgments. But now, without further ado, let's move on to the main course of this particular episode, dessert. So, we'll start with Lone Garurumon. What is your favorite and least favorite dessert?
As for my favourite, I'm probably gonna say tiramisu, which is weird because I don't like coffee. So, yeah, that's a bit of a weird one there. And
So, that's your favorite, you said?
yeah.
Then, that's funny, because that is actually my least favorite dessert.
Uh-oh.
There's drama already. What?
Meanwhile, I have no idea what the heck that even is.
Wait, what?
It's a layered dessert. It's like cake with like a coffee base, kinda.
Aha.
Yeah. Kinda.
Yeah, which, as I said, is weird because I don't like coffee, so I have no idea why I like tiramisu so much.
Alright. And your least favorite dessert?
Anything involving the baking of fruit. Something about the way fruit, like apples and stuff, turns when you bake it just puts me off of it.
So you don't like good old-fashioned American apple pie, huh?
Not particularly, no.
Well, I guess you are Australian, so that makes sense.
Yeah, see?
Do they have fruit in Australia?
Yes. It
Kiwis,
will
right?
It will try and eat. It will try and eat you back, but so long as you're fast and aggressive, you'll generally be able to handle it. I only know two people who've been killed by fruit. It's not really a common thing.
I mean, that advice sounds just like something that everyone should listen to in Australia. Just be fast and aggressive.
I mean, even Archaic mentioned something about that when he was in for the Star Wars cast.
Yeah, see? So I'm not bullshitting you.
And I think we're going to have to bleep that too.
Look, As we just established, I'm an Aussie. I do that.
Yes, and?
You sure are.
Alright, so those are your favorite and least favorite desserts. So, again, you don't like apple pie, you don't like any kind of fruit pie, you don't like apple turnovers, or literally anything that involves baking fruit.
Yeah.
That's certainly something. Well, Chef, since you've already given us your least favorite dessert, what's your favorite dessert?
My favorite dessert is actually quite hard because I usually am like, okay, it's dessert, I like it. Just the regular old ice cream is nice, strawberry flavored, or well,
see, I don't like ice cream. I don't like ice cream.
Yeah.
Wow. And you were shocked that I didn't like apple pie.
You know what is really nice? Having nice, delicious, warm apple pie with like a small scoop of vanilla ice cream next to it. That's amazing.
That's a traditional combination.
Exactly.
A very traditional combination.
And it's something that Lone and me don't like.
I mean, I'd eat the ice cream out the bowl.
But yeah, I'd probably just go for the standard basic ice cream as my favorite dessert.
Alright. Elieson, what about you?
Growing up, I remember my very Italian grandmother used to yell at me to eat her food as she would cook it, and it was terrible. She was a horrible chef. But one thing she could make was a lemon meringue pie that rivaled that of the heavens. So a delicious lemon meringue pie is just probably the most nostalgic and delicious thing I can remember ever eating. I've never had one that tastes like my grandmother's, and it just brings back so many memories. So good. Have you all ever had a lemon meringue pie?
Yeah, they're pretty good. I like them.
Wait, but that involves baking fruit, doesn't it?
Well, I don't have problems with fruit.
No, not to my knowledge.
No, not you. Lone does.
But it's a lemon curd. It's not a lemon. So
not actually baking.
It's got kind of like lemon zest.
That's true.
In it is more or less the where the flavor comes from.
That's true. I don't pay attention when my wife bakes pie.
You just eat it.
I'm actually usually not even. I'm not even usually home when she does the baking. Yeah, so that's a good one. What about your least favorite dessert?
I don't know if you'd call this dessert, but I could tell you anything that has licorice in it is probably going to scare me away and force me.
Any
to
kind
run
of licorice, or just specifically the black kind?
Is there a good kind of licorice? I haven't found one.
Yeah, the red licorice.
Like those, what do they call them? Twizzlers? I think there's gotta be another word for them. No, those are gross too. The only thing I like to do with those is turn them into like a really, really, really skinny straw. But no, the taste of them is, I don't know. They're too gummy. They get stuck in my teeth. And the black licorice is just a horrible flavor. It's all gross.
So I guess that does bring up another interesting question: is candy? Does that count as a dessert, or is it its own separate category?
I would say its own separate category. Even though you can have it as dessert, but it can be implemented into desserts, but it on its own would, in my opinion, not count as a dessert.
At what point does it go from candy to a candy-based dessert?
See, that was going to be the follow-up question, is then where do you make the distinction between what's candy and what's a dessert?
You know,
need a utensil
when we...
to eat it.
Oh, that could actually be a very good one.
That's a good... In that case, licorice would not count as a dessert, it would count as a candy.
Ah, buggers.
Hey, your own definition.
Did I just fail to answer my own question? Let me try this again. My least favorite dessert is not candy. It's probably German chocolate cake, and that's got to be because I just really don't enjoy the flavor of coconut in, well, anything.
Okay. Like, with your previous answers, it was funny because then I disagreed with your least favorite desserts of all three of you. Now I just disagree with the least favorite desserts of Lone and me.
You disagree with yourself.
Why?
You disagree with Lone and yourself.
Sure, why not?
How can you disagree with yourself?
I just love the fact that it took him so long to get it. You'd think he'd be used to this by now.
You really would.
I am used to this in chat, not in voice chats.
Look, the bottom line is we all know that me is me only when it suits me. And that's a very clear statement.
Yeah, I understood it perfectly.
Yeah. But okay, so if the general consensus then is that candy is not dessert, and I tend to agree with that. So we've had Elieson's definition of where the line is drawn between candy versus dessert. Does anybody have any dissenting opinions?
Well, would that mean that an ice cream cone would be candy?
Ah, an excellent question. Because you technically don't need a utensil to eat that.
Yeah.
Or do you consider the cone to be your utensil?
Oh. But why would you eat a utensil?
That's actually a thing people do. Like, they make edible utensils. That is a thing.
Where? I need to go there.
I couldn't tell you any specific place. I just know that it is a thing that is done.
I mean, if you want to talk about edible things like edible plates, I'll introduce you to matzah. Passover is always fun.
Wait a minute,
Okay.
then. That brings up a second thing. Perhaps it's the idea of two significantly different types of, I guess, a sweet treat or something that go together to form what creates a small meal, whether or not it's handheld or otherwise.
So dessert is just a fusion dance of two different kinds of candy?
But is an ice cream cone by itself, then, candy?
I don't think so, but that would involve, one, considering ice cream to be candy in the first place, and two, also considering the cone to be a standalone treat that you would consider to be candy.
I was going to say, who eats just an ice cream cone?
Well, I know people that don't eat the ice cream cones and then give the cone to me, so then I am just eating the cone.
See, but that's not the intended method, though.
It is not. So
yeah, that meal was prepared with the intent of consuming both things together.
yeah.
Okay, an ice cream, if ice cream is a dessert, then all you're doing is turning a cone into the bowl. It doesn't change the fact that it's not dessert. So if the cone itself serves as a bowl, then the cone itself is not dessert. The combination of the two suffices as dessert because you're still eating the one thing that defines ice cream as a dessert to begin with.
Which is the ice cream itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
I suppose. But then that brings us right back to our original question, is where's the distinction between candy and dessert?
Would you, going back on the previous question of is the cone by itself candy? Well, I would myself categorize it as a cookie, but would a cookie and a candy be different classifications, or?
I feel like cookies can count as a dessert.
But you don't eat them with a utensil.
Ah, that is another question.
Cookie a dessert.
Yeah, cookies
grab one and eat it as a quick snack.
weird nebulous area in between. Unless it's like one of those huge, unless it's like one of those huge cookies.
And biscuits are not a meal, and wafers are not a dessert, and cookies, wafers, and biscuits, scones, I mean, they all have to go with something to turn it into a dessert meal. You know, scones and coffee or something at the end of a meal. Cookies and ice cream, perhaps, or cookies and milk.
I never have cookies with milk.
It's all that it all gets to that combination that I was just describing earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, cookies are not candy. Cookies are not dessert. What are they?
Cookies are cookies. They are something that can be used in a dessert, but also something that can be enjoyed on its own.
But candy is the same category. You can have candy in a dessert, and you can enjoy candy on its own.
Yeah.
So what's the distinction between cookies and candy? See, I feel like the baking
they're
process...
Candy is a kind of confection. Cookie is a kind of confection. But they're different classifications of the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem here is we've kind of come up with a description for what a dessert is, but we don't have a clear definition for candy to tell whether the cookie fits into it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So the definition of a dessert that we're going with is you need a utensil to eat it. Exception, of course, being ice cream on a cone, because the ice cream by itself is what makes that a dessert, and you would still, eating the ice cream by itself, you would still need a utensil to eat it.
Yeah, like the cone would be the utensil when eating an ice cream cone. So it would still be a dessert.
Okay. And cookies, you do not need a utensil to eat, so therefore they are not a dessert.
Mm-hmm.
But cookies are still something you can add candy to, chocolate chip cookies. I mean, I guess Elieson said it best. They are both different types of confections, but at least in my book, cookies are almost like a halfway point between candy and some desserts.
That is probably because candy can be fused with the cookie, and the cookie can be used in a dessert.
Yeah. Anyway, because we've decided that cookies aren't a dessert, I may have to change my favorite dessert answer.
Yes, now you see how it feels to be me.
I always know how it feels to be me.
You set him up for that one, I know it.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking
You said it, I was like, well, okay, here it comes.
But yeah, so my original answer was going to be peanut butter chocolate chip cookies. But I can't go with that anymore, because we've decided that that's not a dessert.
And you don't eat it with utensil, do you? So,
I mean, to be fair, some people, not me, some people eat pizza with a utensil.
Yeah, that's just weird.
It is. It very much is.
Okay, now let me start off by saying, if you're feeding pizza to a small child, and you slice up pizza so that way they can eat it with a fork.
And
Why do
I
you
know
do that?
restaurants that don't slice your pizza, where you have to actually cut it yourself. So there it would make sense to actually first of all use utensils to cut it up.
Yeah, use a pizza cutter or something. But like actually taking your slice of pizza, cutting it with a fork and knife, and eating it that way. Oy. But anyway, that's. So I'm sure there's somebody out there. The bottom line is, I'm sure there's somebody out there that takes a cookie and cuts it in half with a knife. You eat cookies with a knife?
I have done it on occasion. I slice it fresh out of the baking pan, and if I'm making gigantic cookies, and I'll just, because it's hot, if I pick it up with my bare hands, it will like droop and melt and fall out of my own hands. But you don't have bare hands, you have human hands. You're right, but when you're wearing oven mitts, sometimes it feels like you're not quite yourself, if you know what I mean. I suppose that makes sense.
I would say that for using utensils, you only count it if that is the way it is supposed to be used.
But who decides what is and is not supposed to be?
General consensus?
Majority consensus?
Yeah.
So, general consensus, as opposed to kernel consensus, says that cookies are not to be eaten with utensils.
Yes. Thus, they would not count as desserts.
And instead
even
would count
for those people who do eat them with utensils.
Do you think we defined this wrong, then?
I mean, it's a distinct possibility.
The more I'm thinking about this now, then the more I think when we were young little children, when you were a smaller me, wouldn't you have considered
when I was a mini me?
Yes, when you were a wee mini me.
Isn't that your sister?
You have considered, or your parents have told you, don't spoil your dinner by eating dessert before dinner. That implies that dessert itself is a meal. So then would the definition of dessert be anything that falls within the category of what you eat to supplement as a meal?
Or do we just broadly define dessert as junk food?
See, but if we do that, that implies that fried chicken is a dessert.
That's a good point. Although I'm sure to somebody, fried chicken is a dessert.
I mean, do we want to define desserts ourselves, or do we want to follow the Wikipedia definition of a dessert?
Only if Bulbapedia doesn't have a definition of dessert.
Let's check.
I think Bulbapedia would define, poffins or something as a dessert, wouldn't it?
It would. Poffins and the whatever the heck the Gen 3 equivalent was.
Pokeblock.
Blocks.
Pokeblock. Boy, am I glad they came up with a different name for the same thing in Gen 4, because Pokeblock is just boring.
Yeah. So, it doesn't, there is not a specific page on the cert, but there are multiple articles which do have the cert mentioned in it.
On Bulbapedia.
Yeah.
For
example, Pokepuffs.
Right, Pokepuffs and Pokeblocks and things of that nature. Poffins.
I don't know if the Pokeblocks would be considered a dessert.
They're almost exactly the same thing.
Well, they have the same function in-game, but I would myself have Pokeblocks be candy.
What about cupcakes? The Pokepuffs reminded me of cupcakes, which you don't eat with a utensil, yet are dessert.
If we're going to make the distinction between Pokeblocks and Pokepuffs, where Pokeblocks are candy and Pokepuffs are dessert, what's the underlying difference between the two, given the fact that A, they both fulfill the same in-game function, and B, they're both made by blending different berries together?
Actually, I don't think we ever got a real explanation for how you make Pokepuffs. You just get them.
Yeah, all you do is you put them in a bowl and then you spin your stylus around for a few seconds and boom.
Yeah, but what?
No, that was
already
that was
bowl?
Poffins.
That's...
All right, there are Poffins and Pokepuffs.
Yeah,
there's a
Pokepuffs were
difference.
the thing in Gen 6 with the Yami.
They just kind of showed up
yeah.
and nobody knows where they came from.
Like, but Puffins...
Are a bird. You said Puffins.
Yeah.
Right, so
I meant
Poffins versus Pokeblocks. Is one a dessert and one a candy? Or are they both candy or are they both dessert?
I mean, I guess going by our description, they'd both be candy.
They would both be considered candy, but
Yeah.
Like
is
even,
that what
even
we're sticking
ignoring
with?
even ignoring the fact that a Pokemon
doesn't use any
wouldn't
utensils
use
for
utensils for anything. They're small enough that a human just would probably just pop them in their mouth.
Yeah.
Well, even if not, like even if the Poffin was maybe 2 mouthfuls instead of 1, you'd still hold it in your hand, take a bite, finish swallowing that bite, and then take another bite. You wouldn't cut it in half and then eat it.
Mm-hmm. There's
I'll
no
be honest,
use for utensils with it.
I'll be honest, I'd probably put Poffin in the same category as whatever a cookie is.
That makes a certain degree of sense.
Yeah.
Well, at the
I
end of
can't
the
argue
day,
against that.
at the end of the day, I guess I can say my favorite dessert then is a peanut butter cake with chocolate frosting. I think we can all agree that's a dessert.
Yes.
Yeah.
But a peanut butter cookie with chocolates, that would not be.
Yeah, there's a recurring theme here. Is I love the chocolate peanut butter combination.
Yeah,
It is a good combo.
My favorite candy then is of course Reese's Cups, which again should surprise nobody. But anyway, so I've already said that my least favorite dessert is ice cream, and I know that that's a very, very unpopular opinion. But it's got 2 things working against it. One, it's cold, and I hate having cold things. I hate cold foods. I've got somewhat sensitive teeth, especially the one with the filling in it, and eating ice cream literally hurts my teeth. And what's even worse is ice cream is dairy. And I am lactose intolerant, so
That does create a
that's
certain
always
problem.
that would create a certain problem, yes. And non-dairy ice cream just doesn't have the same flavoring as actual ice cream. I suppose another thing that I should recount is, of course, being Jewish, I can't eat milk and meat in the same meal. So, if I have a chicken entree or if I have a beef entree, I can't have ice cream as a dessert. So, I've gotten to know non-dairy ice cream pretty well as a result of that. And it's not the same as regular ice cream. And it's still got the cold factor that I don't like anyway. So... it's not my favorite. Literally the only ice cream I will ever consider eating, and again, this should surprise nobody, literally the only ice cream I will consider eating is Breyer's Reese's Blast ice cream, which actually has little Reese's mini cups in it. and even then, I don't like it.
So it's ice cream with like actual tiny Reese's cups in it.
Yeah, kind of like chopped up or broken up Reese's mini cups in it. It's good, but I'd rather just eat the Reese's mini cups.
Yeah, fair enough.
But one thing that I will say, I don't like ice cream, but I actually do like frozen yogurt. There are a lot of frozen yogurt places near where I live. Granted, when I go there, I always get the same thing, which is the peanut butter frozen yogurt, a little bit of the chocolate frozen yogurt, and then a lot of my toppings are either ground up peanuts or chocolate chips, or actual ground up Reese's mini cups, and I like that. I can get over my dislike of dairy. I can get over my dislike of cold. Just whatever the distinction is between ice cream and frozen yogurt, it's significant enough for me to like one but not the other.
I've honestly never actually tried froyo. Like, there was a froyo place like just across like the hallway from a place where like I had burgers once, but I never wound up going in, and I've never seen a froyo place since.
And I assume it's gone now?
I have no idea. I can't even remember where the burger place is.
Oh.
I went there once with some friends.
I see.
I don't even know if we have a froyo place, like, close by.
Here in Texas, they're all over the place. I could probably drive past 4 or 5 on my way to my own office.
They're very common around here, too. Actually, a decent number of them are kosher, which is phenomenal. Again, that is something that I need to worry about.
Huh. Doing a quick Google search, it appears that there are a few in Amsterdam. Which,
well, go
maybe
try
I should
frozen
get
yogurt then.
Sometime.
Yeah. No, go try it. I don't know, and I guess since 2 out of 4 or 2 out of 3 of the other casters have never had frozen yogurt, they couldn't define what the difference is between ice cream and frozen yogurt that would allow me to like one but not the other. Maybe it's a texture thing.
Yeah, if I had to venture a guess, I think froyo is smoother, I think I've heard.
But again, I put in like little bits of ground up peanuts and chocolate chips and broken up.
Yeah.
If I go with the with the yogurt we have over here, if I would compare that to ice cream, I would say that it's fresher. That has a certain, I can't really describe it, but just has a certain,
Well, I guess
freshness to it or something.
One thing that I'll point out that frozen yogurt has over ice cream is I don't seem to react as badly to it as I do to ice cream. So that probably does help. And I guess, the texture thing is probably, has some merit. Because ice cream, you don't tend to think of ice cream as hard by any stretch of the imagination. But, compared to frozen yogurt, it is. I mean, I think another name for frozen yogurt is soft serve ice cream, or I'm just mixing things up entirely and I'm completely wrong on that. But
if that's the case, then I've totally had a bunch of froyo.
Oh,
I honestly
didn't.
Didn't know they might even be the same thing.
I might be way off base on that. In fact, I'd wager that I am. It might be something worth looking up, but I mean, this is a non-serious cast, so.
Says you. I take this very seriously.
It's about food.
Yeah, we
Of course
kind
I
of
take it seriously.
yeah, we kind of had a pretty in-depth discussion on what is and isn't a dessert. We've gotten kind of weirdly serious over the last half hour.
Alright, fine, but I suppose it's less serious than a conversation would be about pizza.
Yeah.
See, then I would not promise to be on my best behavior in the slightest.
And we would not expect you to.
No. Nope.
So yeah.
That actually brings
Honestly,
up a
I
good question. What is
I
pizza?
expected this dessert cast to be about what desserts we like the most and the least, and that turned into a full-on discussion of what specifically counts as a dessert and what doesn't.
Sure, I mean, it's part of what I'm trying out now is a lot less structured of a cast, where, we go in with an overarching theme, which is your favorite and least favorite desserts, and we let the conversation evolve from there. It seems to be working. But, again, I guess I can't say this isn't a serious cast, but, you know what? I actually will look up soft serve ice cream versus frozen yogurt. Give me a minute or two. In the meantime, chat amongst yourselves.
Okay. I'm about to blow your mind. How many desserts do you think of, such as pastries, that are made of dough? Many, I'm sure. How many desserts can you think of that have cheese in them to some degree?
Cheese?
Yeah, like for cheesecake.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was about I was about to think, like, you were throwing me through a loop there. I mean, the obvious answer is cheesecake, which made me think that's too obvious. Is there actually cheese in cheesecake? I legitimately don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's made of cream cheese.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Now let me blow your mind even further. How often do people enjoy putting fruit on their cheesecake? Like strawberries or blueberries?
Doesn't that tend
Pretty
to be
common.
like one of the most common things to do with cheesecake?
Yes. Now, those are the ingredients, the core ingredients. A dough for a crust, cheese of some form for the cake element, fruit for a topping. What is pizza? It is dough with cheese and tomato sauce,
my
which is
God.
fruit. Because tomatoes are fruit, right? So, could all this time
Yes.
pizza have qualified as a dessert?
Pizza is cheesecake.
Pizza is cheese, more like a cheese pie, maybe?
Yeah.
Cheesecake pie?
But
I'm...
There,
Wow.
And there you go. You're welcome.
Mind has been blown.
Take that to your family
So-
and see what they say about dinner.
okay. So what were we talking about again? My mind just went somewhere. I have no idea where.
We were talking about the fact that pizza is cheesecake, and so pizza is a dessert.
It can
I
qualify
don't
as a
think
dessert.
pizza's a dessert.
Oh, pizza is cheesecake.
Did you hear my explanation? Or were
I did not. Sorry,
okay,
I had to
alright,
step
so
away for a minute.
let me start from the beginning. What is a common element that you may see in desserts, such as pastries? Dough of some kind. Croissants, tarts, they all have dough to some degree. What is a common additive in desserts? Cheese? Yes, it does qualify. A cheesecake, for instance, is a dessert made with dough and cheese. Often, people put fruit on their cheesecake, like strawberries and blueberries. Now, if you were to take a pizza, which is commonly dough, cheese, with a fruit-based sauce or tomato sauce, then the core ingredients there don't differ that much from a strawberry-covered cheesecake or a cheesecake
thing,
with
though,
strawberry sauce.
With the cheesecake being topped up with fruit, that's immediately in my head brought the possibility of a pineapple pizza. as dessert, as a cheesecake.
No,
Yeah, which, as we
not
all
getting
know,
into
is
pineapple
completely
pizza.
immoral.
It's philosophically not allowed in this conversation.
Well, we may have a pizza cast in the future, in which case we will get into why pineapple pizza is a sin in great detail. But we're talking desserts here, and
But if we all right, here we go.
pizza's a
If we
dessert. We just
classify
established
pineapple
this.
pizza as a dessert rather than, say, a delicious dinner meal alternative, then would it be so bad? I mean, I'd say yes.
I'll grant
but
you that's probably slightly less bad. But
Well-
if we're going by our definition of you need to eat it with a utensil, you don't eat pizza with a utensil.
See,
Yeah.
but this is just blowing our entire theory out of the water. If pizza is cheesecake, our theory is categorically incorrect.
Pizza is not cheesecake.
if anything,
The
maybe cheesecake
description
pie, cheese pie.
fits. Or
So,
is cheesecake just a kind of pizza?
No.
Well, there you have it, folks.
if you describe it in the broadest terms, then
But we're
yes,
not
they
describing
could be
it in the broad.
described in
We're
the
not
same
describing
way.
it. We're not describing it in the broadest terms. And also, you don't necessarily need like a bread-based dough for a cheesecake. For example, my mother uses a graham cracker crust.
Yeah. And,
So,
but yeah.
again, bread is not a dessert. Bread is bread. So having something in there that's dough does not guarantee it as being I mean, cookie dough. Cookies are not a dessert. We've already established that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, getting back to what I was actually talking about earlier, soft serve ice cream and froyo are not actually the same thing.
Okay.
Okay.
I think the difference between soft serve ice cream or ice cream in general is that it uses milk instead of cream, but it's not made with 100% yogurt. I don't know. That's what it looks like. In any case, whatever the difference is, I vastly prefer frozen yogurt over regular old ice cream. But
Yeah, okay.
I guess getting back to the actual subject at hand, pizza is not a dessert. Pizza and cheesecake are not the same. Again, you don't actually need a bread-based crust or a dough-based crust for the cheesecake. Like a graham cracker crust will do fine. Because again, if you want to get really, really technical, then chicken pot pie uses more of a bread-based or a pastry-based dough than pizza does, and some of the things you put in there, like peas or corn or some of the things that you think are vegetables are actually fruit. So, does that count as a dessert now?
Peas and corn
It's not-
are vegetables, though?
Peas and corn are fruit.
You
Really?
could put tomatoes in your pot pie. I don't know many people who do.
You could also
You could
put-
put pumpkin
you could.
in your pot pie. That is a fruit. Gourds of all kinds. Squash.
No. Let's go back to the peas and corn thing. Are they really fruit?
No.
Does
they don't-
corn
they-
have seeds in it?
Is
Are
that
peas
what?
and beans the seeds themselves?
Yeah, a fruit
Yes,
is
they're
defined
fruit.
by having a seed inside of it.
Yeah, I know that was the definition, but is that what that thing in corn actually is? Like the little hard bit inside each kernel?
Yes.
Huh.
Yes.
Well, there you go. I learned something tonight.
Yeah.
Good. And I suppose this brings me to my next question. Popcorn, a dessert or not?
Nah.
Chips, pretzels, salty dessert? No.
Well,
No, gourmet popcorn.
popcorn,
Maybe
you
a
don't.
dessert.
With our definition, you don't eat in my opinion, you don't eat popcorn with utensils.
You don't eat. You don't shovel popcorn into your mouth using a spoon.
No.
No.
Fair enough.
I've never heard of that before, just now.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, you didn't even know that corn was a fruit, so...
That's fair.
But
Yeah.
no, I don't actually do that. It's just it. But yeah, so popcorn. I guess putting popcorn in the same category as things like pretzels and chips would be more accurate, and those are snacks, not desserts.
Yeah.
So I guess this brings me to my next question, in the distinction between snacks and sweets, or snacks and desserts in general, is what is the point of a dessert?
They taste good.
Yeah.
But so do a lot of things.
I would
And-
assume typically dessert is implied as being a filling meal versus a quick snack.
Except that in many cases you have the dessert course after you've already eaten the main course, so it's not supposed to be filling, it's supposed to just be something that you have after the meal, when you're already mostly full.
Yeah. According to Wikipedia, the definition of dessert is that a dessert is a course that concludes an evening meal. The course usually consists of sweet foods such as confections, dishes, or fruit, and possibly a beverage such as a dessert, wine, or liquor.
Ooh, so are fruits by themselves considered a dessert? That's a phenomenal question. Some of them certainly could be. I mean,
I could say
some
yes.
some people have fruit salads as a dessert.
I certainly do. My daughter often will go to restaurants, and on the dessert menu there will be, say, a fruit cup. That would qualify as a dessert.
Mm-hmm. But then that goes back to, you don't actually... Well, the fruit cup maybe, but like if you actually put... If you put an apple or a watermelon in front of someone, you don't have to eat... You don't use a utensil for that.
Mm-hmm.
But a fruit salad, though, you generally eat with a spoon, because you don't want to get all the fruit juice all over your hands.
Yeah.
So fruit salad counts as a dessert.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I guess another thing that we can make a distinction is dessert should be sweet.
Usually sweet. Not... A dessert would be... could be sweet, but would not be defined by it.
Okay, so what's an example
what's
of a
a
non-sweet dessert?
dessert?
I'll come back to you with that one.
Of course.
Non-sweet desserts.
Because
Well-
fruit salad is sweet.
Yeah. According to Google, there are things like maple cinnamon applesauce.
Which maple
Isn't that
maple
sweet?
of any kind is pure tree sugar.
I have no idea. I've never had it.
It's
Apples
maple.
Suggest- and cinnamon.
and apples.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that could end up being not sweet.
Oh, a cheese tray, which
That's
is
it,
a
it's-
dessert in French tradition, which would not be sweet.
But Saf's not here.
How about
That does
if
not
you
mean
were
that
to
the
enjoy
French cuisine is out of the question.
coffee and scones?
The scones are normally somewhat sweet now.
Yeah, isn't
Yeah, but-
like a jam generally something you have alongside that to like put in the scones?
I'd have to leave that to you guys.
Well,
It's not a very American
I mean,
thing.
Well, getting back to Chef's point about the cheese tray, though, I think I'd consider that more like an appetizer
An hors
than
d'oeuvre.
a dessert. Yeah, a hors d'oeuvre or an appetizer.
Yeah, that's a weird thing to have as the dessert, not gonna lie.
I agree, but Google says that there's a possibility for it to be a dessert, so I just went with it.
Well, Google is Google.
It is.
Everyone knows that nothing you read on the internet is true. Didn't they teach you anything in school?
Unless I say it. But, I mean,
I haven't been in like normal school for a while. Do they still tell you that? Like, do they still have don't use the internet as a source, as a thing?
Wait, so you haven't been in normal school for a while. Does that mean that you've been in abnormal school?
Well, I mean,
He doesn't have to answer that. It's awfully personal.
He brought it up in the first place.
I've taught people how to play Mafia. That's teaching someone. I'm schooling them. That's not a very normal thing that most people do. So, yeah, abnormal schooling.
You say that in the presence of the War Room's two best Mafia players.
And me.
No, I'm sure me was including himself in there.
I was including myself in that, Chef, but thank you very much.
But I was not included in the chat.
I never said that it was a bad thing, just that it was an abnormal thing that a good number of people do not do.
But
Which
nobody
is true.
I should just rename this one the War Room Cast, because that's pretty much who's here.
War Room Talks Dessert.
Yeah. The Torque Room.
Possibly.
So, I guess general consensus or wrap-up thoughts, or do we still have more that we want to say about this?
I believe that we ran out of actual things to say like half an hour ago.
I believe we could still consider pizza to be a dessert.
I will disagree with you, and we'll take it to the Pizza Cast.
I mean, well, I have to say, according to Wikipedia, the term dessert can apply to many confections, such as biscuits, cakes, cookies, custards, gelatines, ice creams, pastries, pies, puddings, and sweet soups and tarts.
What is a pizza but short named for a pizza pie?
Exactly. Would that...
Yeah, but chicken pot pie or shepherd's pie are not dessert.
Yeah, there are plenty of minced meat pies that qualify as dessert, and those are warm and filled with
Doesn't have to be warm to be a dessert.
No,
ice cream is the case in point.
Uh-huh. I think we should just say that dessert is special. It is... There is no clear definition of what is and is not a dessert. And I think that we would still be talking for hours if we want to create like an actual accurate description of what a dessert should and could be.
You're probably right, and I certainly don't feel like doing that.
Yeah.
Any other wrap-up thoughts?
I think I'm going to have a wrap for lunch, actually.
I haven't even had breakfast yet. I've been sitting here recording for 3 hours.
I haven't eaten anything all day, so...
Yeah, but didn't it, just flip past midnight for you?
Yes. Yes, it did.
See? He's trying to trick you.
I am not deceiving anyone. Is my statement not 100% categorically correct in that for the entirety of today so far, I have not eaten anything?
Yes, but it is misleading.
Let's make it clear then. There are several people here that are in American time zones, of which it is between, say, 6 or 7 a.m. to about 10 a.m. And then there are others that don't qualify.
I think bump that forward an hour. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning on the Pacific Coast and 11 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast.
Yes.
In mainland U.S.
Now, for lone Garurumons, who are not necessarily all alone out there, it's much, much earlier.
Much earlier.
But it's the following day. Like, it's like 12 o'clock.
So it's much later, actually, because it's the 25th.
Oh, that's right.
He's in the land of tomorrow.
The future.
Yeah. So.
Right, but...
Yeah.
Greetings from the world of tomorrow!
We had to get at least one Futurama reference in there. Alright, well, I guess you've already all said this, but I'm also particularly hungry after this conversation. And again, that's because I've been recording since 7 o'clock in the morning and haven't eaten breakfast yet. Either way, thanks again to all of the participants and for joining me today, and to everyone for watching this episode. Hopefully that has wet your whistle for future installments, but in the meantime, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you all next time. Though probably not literally this time, this is the last episode being recorded today. Say goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Ellie.
To understand the